Whoa. Hey, welcome to Freak Out Friday Freak Out. Oh, it is Friday, TGIF. Welcome to the live stream on Friday. And this is my little shorter stream, a podcast of talking about whatever's going on in the shop, right? It's another one on Tuesday, Shop Talk Tuesday, which highlights more industry news and so forth. And I'll tag along on that on this one too. But it's more like in the game, in the mix of your shop, what your shop has experienced most likely, what are they doing on a Friday, all those crazy experiences. And today's a little different than your typical Friday. It's like the Hangover Friday after Thanksgiving here in the States, and we're all just trying to get over our turkey hangover or whatever you may have eaten or drinking too much of and cleaned up after and dealt with family, and you're just like, woo! It's been a whirlwind, and traditionally this is Black Friday, so happy Freak Out Black Friday Day to all those who are still doing Black Friday. Is that still a thing? We're going to talk about that in a second here. I have some interesting observations and my perspective in the cycling industry, which, well, I will say it's different than it has been years before, and going forward, it's going to be probably even more different and strange. But in any case, thanks for those who are taking the time to take a little peek inside the bike shop. And again, my name is Justin from I Know a Guy Bicycles. I'm referenced myself as the guy from I Know a Guy. Any case, little loopy myself. Too much food. I didn't indulge too much yesterday, so it's all good. I hope all of you enjoyed yesterday. If you took the time off for Thanksgiving, and those outside the United States, it's probably just a normal work day for you. But in any case, I think globally it's like a big shopping day for the most part. But hey, thanks for chiming in. So this particular Friday in the States is Black Friday, and how do we navigate through all that? That's kind of strange, right? Strange concept. The big doorbusters back in the day and lines at 4 o'clock in the morning and all kinds of that. I've worked retail where it had that kind of intensity, and it was not in the cycling industry at all whatsoever. Cycling industry does not have a Black Friday. Yeah, they have a little bit of business kick, but nothing compared to what it used to be in the yesteryears. But I'll talk about that in my experiences from the big box store chain, and how is it translating into today's normalcy, and also the title today is like what to look out for Black Friday and that kind of thing. So in any case, a couple shout outs. 65 Bugnut, thank you for joining in. Good morning to you too. Hope you enjoy the short little live stream here. And Spooky Tuesday 17, thank you from Pueblo. Hopefully it's a little warmer in your neck of the woods. It's a little chilly. Finally had to do the flip. The little space heater is now underneath my desk trying to keep me a little warm while we do this, and hopefully it doesn't trip the breaker because that sometimes happens. But in any case, it has definitely been a transition finally here in Colorado. We've had pretty decent weather up to about 4 days ago, and all of a sudden this weekend we're supposed to get really sub-below temperatures, really chilly. Something like in the teens Fahrenheit. So in other words, blow out your sprinklers, all that kinds of things. And those who are joining in or listening in from on the other side of the equator, it's your springtime, which hope you guys get some good riding coming up. In any case, I do have one kind of product I want to kind of talk about, and it's a brand of product, and that's kind of hit the market. And I did watch a video from Zero Friction. If you've not watched that channel, it's very intriguing in a nerdy out way for especially drivetrain waxes and wearing of parts and so forth. He's started a whole series of mini pumps, the little new electric mini pumps, and we'll talk about that in a little bit here. But just wanted to talk about what as a consumer a consumer perspective of what Black Friday is, and also what the bike retail, what Black Friday is. But before we jump in that, I got to clear my throat and take a sip of coffee. And why don't you guys take a gander of this? Bob, the bike rep, is talking about Bicycle Wheeler Warehouse.
Bicycle Wheel Warehouse in California has an excellent selection of wheels to choose from. They're pre-built, or also you can have them custom built up to various sizes. You can reach out to them directly if you have something unique like the 650 wheel or a different style hub. Therefore, it makes it an excellent bike wheel set company that actually provides good wheel sets without breaking the bank. You will find them being very trusted and true. They really hold up under a lot of different riding conditions and so forth. It takes the standard old school wheel building practices and puts them in a better format. But in any case, this is a wheel set you'll be really love to have. It'll perform for you for a long period of time, and the quality and the attention to detail is superb. You'll find information about this company in the description below, with also my personal coupon code. I hope you find a good wheel set where it works for you.
So yeah, great place to find some inexpensive or high value without breaking the bank wheel sets, either custom or out of the box, to extend your ride. I do have a set above me, you can probably see, that's going on to a classic line full suspension, which I'll be shooting the video next week. Hopefully get it out in a week or two after that. Production stuff. I have so many things going on, and I got a couple repairs in the stand as well. So talking about Friday, Black Friday specifically, it's kind of nuts, right? It's you know, the yesteryears of the 80s and the 90s of people lining up outside of Circuit City and, about ready to bust down the doors at Sears and Roebuck, and wait, all those companies are no longer around. But in any case, I had an experience of that in the bicycle, and not bicycle retail, but basically sporting goods retail. And it was a huge emphasis on Black Friday and the whole holiday season sales. Big eye opener. Reason being is they have about a month or less of sales that is equivalent to about 3 months of their summer sales. So if you look at the concentration of it, it's pretty intense. That's before COVID and everything else has hit. What it's transpired today is little more relaxed, more cyber. Actually, a lot cyber, because everybody's gone to, I'm just going to click and buy, not go in the stores or line. Some people still have that tradition of going to the stores and so forth. What's that look like in bike shops? Not very much traffic. There's not a lot of, or never has been, a lot of incentive to get into the bike shop. Even though bike shops have tried, I've worked in shops when we tried to bolster some sales, have some loss leaders, which means basically giving away something pretty darn cheap, raffles, you name it. They've done everything, but it's just the drive is not there, especially in the market where you're going into the more of the off season. Probably a little bit different if it's in warmer climate areas or the southern hemisphere where the spring is about ready to kick in, which they actually have Christmas rush because it's right in the height of their season. But here in the States, it's or more the northern part where most of us where it get cold, bikes are being hung up, skis are coming out, those kinds of things. And you're also looking for Christmas items. But I do have to say the indoor trainer, especially the smart trainers, have really kind of changed that dynamics. But even then, they are kind of bled out in the sense of less impact. There's a lot of brands out there. They've already seen a lot of rotation in the used market, like the Kicker and Tracker and all the other brands out there have gone in the smart realm. Or you can use a dumb trainer and just plug in one of the actual apps to keep you going from Strava and what have you, just to keep the legs going. And luckily in my neck of the woods, we usually don't rely on indoor trainers too much because we have a lot of nicer days. But in any case, as a side note, back to like the bike shop experience. So customers, you'll find deals, they'll have things on sale, which is good if you're looking for Christmas stocking stuffers. And a lot of shops should have a stocking stuffer list and that kind of thing. Ideas to help you and educate you, especially if you're not a a cyclist per se yourself, but you're significant other or family member or friend you're trying to buy for, they'll help you guide through that journey and find those kinds of things, of course, what they have on hand. And then you got the whole online thing where you're going to lose your mind going down rabbit holes trying to research a lot of this stuff. And some companies and some YouTube influencers or social media influencers have helped, guideline that. Granted, the products I'm going to talk about are really not going to, are not, sponsored. I mean, Bicycle Wheel Warehouse, they provide good wheels, but I don't believe they have a Black Friday. That's just a general sponsorship for me. But 401 S Nelson, thank you so much. Appreciate the tip on that. Appreciate it. Not expected anybody to tip me, but it's great when I do see them here and there. And happy holidays to you, and hope you're finding all this information good as well for you. I didn't see the Mr. Farmer have a live stream today, so I should have probably come on earlier, but I don't want, last week I did and kind of covered up, and it's like, if you don't know, he's a bigger influence in my realm, and I don't want to, a lot of you do watch both of us, which is great, and I figured I'll just be, at the back of the bus, whatever. Plus, I get to sleep in a little bit longer, even though it's 10 o'clock his time. It's still 10 o'clock my time here when I start. So anyway, not here to talk about anybody else's channels, but welcome, and hopefully you'll find a safe space here that you feel comfortable with, and all sorts. But Black Friday has a big U-turn in bizarreness, because right before I left the big bad chain store, they were pushing to have Black Friday start on Thanksgiving Day, which was just why are you doing this to us? As employees of staff of these big chain retail stores, and it was just nuts. This is dumb. I think it got crushed, in my opinion, from COVID, because Black Friday kind of lost its early to the punch door deals. So you probably, or if you watch my channel, you saw a video I dropped last Thursday, I think it was, or Friday. It was like, this is already the Black Friday week, because everybody right now is trying to beat everybody on getting out of the gate. So Amazon, Walmart, all the big players have already released a lot of their Black Friday deals just to get, any of those dollars that anybody's wanting to spend before they pucker up and go, ooh, we maybe not spend too much this year because we're afraid of whatever may be going on in our life, economy, job security, didn't get the bonuses, whatever the case may be. It's been kind of a roller coaster, to say the least, the last few months in our economical state of the state, including affecting all these manufacturers trying to bring in products and so forth. There is stuff here and there is stuff on sale, but what I've been finding, there's really not that great of deals, honestly. Nothing really that's popped out going, oh my goodness, I got to buy that. It's typical percentage off on a lot. And one of the things I usually would take advantage of Black Friday for myself is some of those companies like Jensen's USA or 365 Cycles, or a couple other ones, University Cycles and Competitive Cycles. I don't know, there's like 4 of them I kind of peruse for pricing, right? And that's a version of my vendors in a sense, because I don't have any vendors direct for the most part, which is fine with me. I rather just take advantage of sales because I do such a small purchasing. Well, they usually would have like a full company or full store-wide discount, like 20% or 35% or 30% off of one item, or something like that, right? And that's when I would take advantage of that to do with parts and tools that never go on sale, like Park Tools never goes on sale. But that's how I can get that, discount on those tools, and it's also a tax write-off because of my business. But that is able to take opportunity to doing those. I haven't seen any of those coupons at all this year. It's been kind of quiet on that aspect. What that means is they want to put stuff on sale, the stuff that they have a lot of, and they don't want to take too much of a discount hit. It's it's really light and polite, really. I mean, even like companies like Poseidon, which is a bike company that sells pretty inexpensive gravel bikes, and a lot of their stuff is around $1,000 or less. You know, they have $150 off of one of their bikes, and it brings it down to 850. But what I've been seeing, since there's been such erosion of pricing and margins over the last 3 years, because Specialized and Trek and every company, Canyon in between, has been dropping their pants on pricing on all their bikes because they couldn't sell them. It's kind of flooded the market, and now there's really not much left to discount, even though they want to discount it and try to drive sales. Even though if they do discount it, there's nobody buying. So that puts them in a really bad pinch. I mean, they're going to still sell some units. It's not going to completely be a goose egg for sales, but it's not as much as what they're going to want. And what they're worried about is products trying to get into the United States with all the disruption is going to be really tricky. So it's really kind of a very protective Black Friday sales for a lot of these companies. And when it comes to the bike shops, they've already started discounting their services for tune-ups and so forth to keep the service train going. Either that slow down for them finally, and they're like, oh, that's the only thing that's really driving some income into a lot of shops. And if you're a shop, that's what you're really are focusing on. Usually you typically don't see those discounts unless it's in January, February. Well, it's already started in early November from a couple shops locally here, and that's probably where the deal is a consumer. That's probably where the deal is for service, not actually on the parts and everything else on that, because that it's just like they really can't discount it. It's not worth to them to discount because what they're buying tomorrow to replace what they sold at a discount today is going to be 20 to 30% more. So that's just a huge, colossal problem for them. So yeah, it's to add to everything else has been weird this year. It just kind of, yeah, it's weird to me too. So a lot of services will be discounted. That's the only ones I've seen that are like a decent discount, like $50 or so on tune-ups from various different shops and so forth. I really haven't had a discount very much myself, as I've had a pretty steady repair flow. So for me, I'm just going to either wait. And here's the sting flip: if you're a bike shop, you're definitely looking at your labor rates because all the costs of running your business have gone up. So when you do the labor rate increases, usually in the off season when there's less people really paying attention or affected by, and that's coming up here soon. And where you're going to see most likely, and probably yours truly as well, is I'm going to raise my rates, have them discounted for the spring, but when season picks up, it's going to go up to that higher rate in April, May, June, and then carry through that. So it's always a tune-up discount, philosophy, marketing, however you want to put it, bait and switch. It's what it is. And what you really want to do is, as a consumer, get your bikes in the off season is usually a really good suggestion. Number one, not necessarily for the discount, not really. You're actually getting a better quality tune because who's left at the bike shop? Because the seasonal employees they're on holiday and they might be coming back, but they're still on holiday. And you got what the main core people is your higher level, full-time, career-based mechanics, and they're not super stressed or busy, so they're going to take their time to work on stuff. That's my whole business model right there as a side note. But it's one of those situations where, yeah, it's the best time and the best quality of tune-up. Might take a little bit longer to get, but it's good because that means it's getting done. And as a higher level, better attention, better qualified repair tech, that kind of thing. So just saying, it's like one of those things like, do you really want to pay higher price and a not as great tune-up in the peak season? This is the time to do it. I actually had somebody chime in one of the comments this week on one of the videos, like, I'd like to see what we want to do to prepare, put my bike away for preparation for off season. And yeah, for me, like I mentioned before, we still pull our bikes out and go ride because we have that opportunity here, but maybe not in a lot of other places. So if you're not using that bike as a trainer, there's a couple things, make sure it's cleaned off, nothing's going to develop rust over time, make sure the chain is lubed or waxed or what have you. But honestly, thinking about it, this is a great time just to slide that bike into the bike shop to have it tuned up, or tune up yourself and get it all prepped up and ready, new tires, what have you, and then set it aside. So when you get that early season day that's nice and you're just itching to ride outside, usually your bike is not ready. So if you get it ready now, I know it's a lot of forward thinking. I'm a procrastinator myself, so this doesn't resonate for about 90% of us as a human being, human society. But if you can be a little ahead of thinking of it and getting it tuned up and ready to go, so that first spring day in your neck of the woods when everything melts and you can blast off the roads or bike paths, that's probably the best thing. Maybe you just need to air up the tires a little bit. And other than that, it's ready to go. So yeah, it's probably one of those things that for Black Friday is now shifted to Black Week, Black Eye Week, and then you have Cyber Monday, which has pretty much been all this week. So allude to that. This is one of the many things that social media influencers leverage to make things work. Check this out. Shop on Amazon. I do have a Amazon store, like the latest pick, basically, of products that are on sale, that kind of thing, and various other parts and tools and so forth that I suggest using within those particular categories. Check that out. Go through, and even if you don't buy the product that I suggest and you find something else that fits your needs better or your grocery list or whatever you end up buying, I get a little kick. So that's a good opportunity for you to get something and I get something that helps support me doing what I'm doing. So yeah, a good portion of you probably are on Amazon. Just go through. I did put in my Amazon store a Black Friday pick list and things that are on Black Friday within the cycling specific realm. So check those out. But the funny thing is, it's really, tools are really not that discounted. Maybe some packs and so forth. Maybe a fresh helmet. What I saw that's probably the biggest discount right now that might be resonate with most of you right now, bike shop people or alike, is water bottles. So like the Camelback and also the other pack value or whatever. It used to be Polar bottles back in the day. They're all on sale. So, consumable things, everybody probably needs a new water bottle or two. The one you've been using all season is probably super grody and gone through the dishwasher too many times. Or stained by all the, drinks you've been drinking. So a good time to get some extra water bottles. Great stocking stuffers too. You can throw some other stuff in there, like a pair of socks or what have you inside the bottle as a gift idea. But the other products I've seen that actually have a discount to them that's pretty decent is not bike shop specific or bike cycling specific. It's more of services like ultrasonic cleaners are pretty decently discounted right now. So apparently there's a influx of those from Beaver or Crewworks. Those are the two brands I've used. They should be in that link of what's on sale. And ultrasonic cleaners, there's various sizes, but the one I use in the shop is a 15 liter, which accommodates a big enough basket to take crank sets and bigger pieces. If you're just doing chains cassettes, you can do the smaller one, that kind of thing. And also, you can clean your wedding rings and everything else. It is a great tool to have for in general to have in your garage. So that's one. Or if you want to wax your chains, you get a real small one with a higher temperature one. I think the Beaver one makes the temperature higher one. You can melt your wax in there, and the ultrasonic cleaner will actually, once it's at temperature, vibrate that wax inside the chain. So that's another thing you can get. There's a couple wax chain kits that's off-brand, but very similar to Silka, for about half the price of what Silka is. So that's another thing that might want to think about looking into. The other one that really pops out is I use lithium auto care products to clean and detail and ceramic coat my bike frames and parts and so forth when I'm doing tune-ups. And those are on sale for 20-25% off. So that brings the prices down on the consumables on those. And the thing is, if you get a bottle of ceramic slam, it will last several, like 10 or 15 bikes, or you can do your car and still do a couple bikes. I mean, the stuff, does spread pretty long. So it's one of those things, you buy it once, you're not going to need to buy it again for a while. So those are probably the things I've seen that really stuck out to me as like pretty decent discounts, that kind of thing. But here's the deal: is like a lot of these websites, 365 Cycles, Jensen's, Silka, any of them, they all have like a 10 to 15 to 20% coupon all year round for becoming like a member list or whatever. So it doesn't really make sense to buy something on the whim when you really don't need it because you're thinking maybe it's just cheaper this time of year because things are not as cheap. So that there alludes, I think this Black Friday is going to be a big bust for the most part. I mean, there'll be some successes, of course, here and there, but as a blanket, I don't think it is going to generate, and I'm pretty sure the big boys are already understanding this is not going to generate as much money as we need it to sustain. So you may, it's not just Black Friday. So going back to my big box experience where I've lived for 8 years, and Black Friday is the kickoff. Let's put it that way. Then they have every week, they have a list of stuff that goes on sale. So if you're eyeing something and they have a lot of inventory of it, you might want to wait a couple weeks or even after Christmas sales. It might even go down even further to kind of maybe recover some of the cash flow that they didn't get per se. So it's a big gamble, especially this year, because there's no consistency to anything, and the economy is really soft, and there's a lot of uncertainties in the United States, which is bleeding out to all the other countries as a global market. And I do apologize. Sorry for that. Any case, will a lot of these companies sustain? Yes, they'll hold on. They'll get through it. Some will merge, which we've seen a lot already. Some companies will come flat out, go out. And another one is Rad batteries for the Rad e-bikes. There's 2 models. I'm going to make a video on this because it needs to be a little more clarity on it. I'm going to try to rope in somebody as an e-bike expert too to maybe give me a little bit of insights because I don't deal with them directly. But having a company like this has a lot of, well, number one, it potentially could burn down your house, which is a huge problem. Secondly, they sold, since there were cheaper e-bikes, there's a ton of them out there. So, and was this recall following their financial issues and so forth? Basically, it killed them. I mean, my theory right now, it is dead. They're dead. Whoever is merged with them or bought them just bought into a huge pile of, oh crap. I mean, I don't have my bill around me. I would be like, yeah, it is a big trouble. Oh, yeah, 401 Nelson. Yeah, I would love a Park Tool Company Black Friday sale. I need a bottom bracket cap tool. Yeah, yeah, they just never go on sale, really. I mean, that's where you get it through Jensen's and you get a 20% off of one item at regular retail. That's the regular retail price that you shoot after is the Park Tool. Maybe you'll see one in Cyber Monday, so keep a lookout for that. Or you can see if they have their pop-ups that you go to the website and there'll be a pop-up for 10 or 20% off. But I've never ever seen Park Tools, and if you don't know Park Tools is like the Snap-on of bike tools. I mean, they've been around for 50 plus years, I think, and they're the industry standards of most bike shops. There'll be a blue wall, including mine, that you'll see. So I'd love to see that, but they just never do, and they don't need to. Apparently, they sell enough. And then again, the cycling industry, doesn't really lean on Black Friday as much as you would think it would. But in any case, going to one thing did intrigue me, and if you guys are watching, who here has been intrigued about the little pumps that are electronic rechargeable little pumps that you put in your pack to ride, like the size of a small phone kind of thing. I've been seeing those all over the place. They're all over on Amazon as well. I'm going to see if I can pull up the little pumps on these guys. And I've had a couple companies reach out to me to demo their product. I just haven't had time to do so. And I kind of question, I still have a whole box full of CO2s. I know it's sustainable, but I don't get a lot of flats either when I ride. Well, knock on wood, because I just jinxed myself. I'm going to be getting flats here and there and everywhere in between. But yeah, so it's these guys, right? And I'm sure you've seen them in your Facebook feeds or what have you. The little pumps, and Silka came out one, and Josh had a video about it on Silka about this is the great little best pump ever thingy majigger, whatever, that kind of thing. So Zero Friction had a video that came out today. It is a little lengthy. His stuff's about pretty long. It was 45 minutes, but he featured the Cycle Plus or Cycle Plus pump. And they have a couple different models, and you compared it to the Silka Mini, which is the aluminum one. They're both pretty small. But what's interesting about these is, that's the Pro Teeny. He has like 6 or 7 of them he's done in cycles. And the thing of watching these was not necessarily that I'm intrigued to get one for myself, but I just know they're becoming a market, and people have asked me to do a review. Well, there's so many of them are already hitting the market, and the reviews, Zero Friction is done over and beyond. He's testing the cycles, testing the motors, seeing how long they last, how many on one charge you can get inflation to tires and all that. I really encourage you, if you're intrigued about buying one of those, look at that, because there's a sustainability aspect of this particular tool, which is crazy to think about, which I didn't really think about. It's like you don't want this thing to work for a half a season, then all of a sudden it's dead, and it becomes a landfill paperweight. So they range from 50 to 100, 150 bucks. This is the one that you tested. I believe it was the Ultra. Seemed pretty cool. It goes up to 120 PSI. There's 3 different sizes and models to it. And the reason why this is the lighter one, and basically the size will determine the battery size. So depending how many times you get use it. He tested it. You get 3 good solid inflations on a 700 by 28C up to 70 PSI on the little guy here. So that's a great takeaway. It's like, oh, okay. And here's the other bit. His research or his testing has shown it doesn't die until after about 75 uses. In other words, fixing your flat 75 times. Okay, this is just replacing the CO2 cartridge in your pack. It's not one you're going to be using, or you don't use these to replace your floor pump in the garage or compressor. If you get the bigger one, yes, but quite honestly, 75 uses in the shop, it'll be like in a week. So you probably kill it in a week. But for emergency use, to fix that flat on the road, or a buddy or somebody you come across as I had a great terminology of what I am as a cyclist, because when I go ambassador of cycling, us bike mechanics, when we go ride, we have our own stuff, and we usually have a pretty good well supply of how to fix or stuff to fix it, because we're just overly cautious, because we just need to fix our own stuff. And we're always more than happy, well, I wouldn't say all of us, but most of us are overwhelmingly more happy to help anybody out there to fix their flat or adjustments or what have you on the fly while we're out riding. Because we just feel like that's our, our calling. And if we have a pump like this, most likely, I've used more CO2 cartridges on other people's bikes on the trails than on my own, which is, advocate of trying to be a good cyclist of the community. But that's where this pump thing is. So you want to make sure you at least get a couple cycles. So just in case you yourself get a flat on your way home, going, oh crap, I burned my charges on helping some people, and then all of a sudden I have to walk home. But in any case, that's one thing you want to keep mindful. The life expectancies of these are not forever. They do have seal replacements, kits, and so forth on some models, not particular to this brand, but other brands out there. I think Muck-Off has one that's been rated really well, so that's another one to take a look at. And the heat factor, I didn't think about this during the video when he was talking. The heat factor is interesting because it heats up. And if you're using those fancy new plastic tubes, like the TPUs, I think they're called, you don't want heat in there. So these little buggers, they have a little extender. So you'll use the little extender piece to inflate your tire with that to distribute that heat so it doesn't melt the tube inside. So keep that in mind as well. So these are fairly new. I mean, these hit like the market about a year or two ago, and now they just caught on fire. And there's a whole bunch of, as you can see, there's a whole bunch of different ones ranging from 50 to 100. I would, look at Zero Friction's charts, and you don't have to watch the whole video. Usually you can snapshot to where he has the actual data points and determine which ones that will test and fit the needs for you. And this is ongoing. This is what the other crazy part of it is. What was released about 6 months to a year ago is outdated. Two of the features on the new one here from the cycle, it has a couple buttons on the side, not the teeny, but the one that has a gauge. It has a gauge, and actually you can set it. So it actually reads the pressure, and actually it'll stop at that pressure. That's what that means, is a settable pressure gauge built in, which is nice to know because you don't want to blow off your tire if it goes, especially like a gravel bike or what have you. Also to note, these are not very good for tubeless. So if you have to do a tubeless quick inflation on the side of the road or trail or what have you, this is not your beast. So you may still have to be stuck with the bigger CO2 cartridges to get that fast inflation to pop that bead into place. But in any case, the Silco one is, I wouldn't even say it's old tech. It's just got overtaken so quickly. And who knows, if you're really not in the need of this and not, just intrigued now, I'd probably wait another year or two until they really kind of filter out. And also maybe ones that'll have easier to replace seals and so forth, because that's the fail point on these. Not necessarily the motor or the battery, it's the seals will break down and it will just leak out, that kind of thing. So anyway, that's my sidebar featured product for Black Friday. Some of these, again, the prices on these are not usually discount, like 5%, that kind of thing. You might be able to find more percentage discounts. I think this one was like 20-ish. So, but I would stick with a brand that either you're familiar with, also support, possibly, or what's been tested, a higher level of testing, or you just go to the manual pump like what we're all used to and give yourself a little heart attack as you're stroking that little booger until you're blue in the face to get it to 35 PSI. Who there is have that problem? It's like, oh, I pulled this out. I'm gonna get it. Oh no. Then it leaks out half the air as you're trying to get it off the valve, or you break off the press the valve little grommet kind of thing. But yeah, yeah. Oh, the joys of the crazy fixing the flat on the side of the road, and then you got the tubeless where you have to have the bacon. It's overcomplicated. And there's a lot of people, it's funny, they've gone from tubeless and they're like, F this, we'll go back to tubes. It's just, it's less of a mess. I can figure it out. Less maintenance. All those things. Because there's still a lot of people out there that are just getting into cycling or just not like, they just like to ride. And they just want to ride their bike. They're not, you know, I had a couple customers and they got bikes, they're new, and one came up to set up tubeless and she didn't even know what that was really. And now she's learning like there's maintenance to it and there's all, all these other things. And, right off the bat, she is instantly frustrated. So, it's kind of one of those things. It's kind of crazy. All right. Spooky Tuesday 17. So it would be great. However, with about $2,000 in park tools, I think they're worth it. Yeah. Well, park tools, I mean, they last, they're guaranteed, they really stand behind their product. So, and if you're using them all the time, it's an investment. It's like, it takes a long time to wear them out, that kind of thing. And there's other tool companies out there. Feedback Sports has some tools. They're really good for bike stands. I think they blow the doors off of bike repair stands versus Park Tool, but that's my personal opinion. And then there's Pedro's, which is another higher elite tools. They had a really cool one for bottom brackets. They have for all the dumb sizes that they have, all the newer, older, and everything in between, bottom bracket sizes for the threading and all that. They have a tool that has a replacement fitting, and they have, I think it comes with like 10 to 15 of the most popular ones. So you only have one tool with a little case that does like a good portion of the bottom brackets. You don't have to deal with it. The only problem is there on those, I had to look at the product again, because I don't think there's a torque specification or a torque wrench that you can connect it to. Maybe you can. Maybe there is. I'll double check that. But, there is some companies that make a better tool than Park Tools, but they're not, as in general, they are the leaders of that. And I've used, Pedro's, and I do have a fair amount of Feedback Sport ones, which they're going to their next iteration of tools. And Feedback Sports is more local to me. Their headquarters is in Golden, Colorado. I believe it's Golden, so not too far away from me. So good people there too. Very personable. Morten Getz, thank you for joining us. This is really good for my usage of bike pumps. I'll check this out. Yeah. Actually, shoot, I should just, I will see if I can find Mr. Zero Friction's video that he just launched. I'll put it in the chat. There it is. And copy. That way you guys can reference his stuff and like his channel. He's a pretty cool guy. He's actually in Australia, I believe. There we go. Hopefully that showed up. He does a lot of testing on wax. He's independent, which is nice. There's a lot of waxing of chains and drip lubes and wear and tear and all that kind of stuff. And it's intriguing stuff. It's really like, it's like, as bike mechanics, we like to go down a rabbit hole, but we just don't have time to. He goes there. So it's really nice to see somebody go there without us wasting our time to go down that rabbit hole. And you're like, oh, okay. And he is responsive. So if you do ask him questions in the chat and so forth, he will respond to your chats, which is really nice. He's actually an engaging social channel as well, which is really nice. Christopher Durnan, 4367. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, 2 full-size Frantics. I keep them on both cars, all purpose. Nice. Nice. Thank you for sharing. All right. Let's see. Oh, 401 Nelson. Yeah. I mean, the mini pumps, it's like he's not intrigued. I carry a Toe Peak micro rocket pump in my back jersey pocket. Use the Bosch mini compressor, easy pump for mountain bike cyclocross races. Oh, nice. Good to know. Yeah, I still have the CO2s, and I think like 5 years ago, I bought a box of them, like a box of cartridges, and I have yet gone through them. So I guess when I get to that point, because that is a sustainable thing. Like, I recycle them, of course. So, but it cuts out stuff going into the landfill and most people's perspectives and that kind of thing. But yeah, for in the shop, I do have a compressor. Well, I did. It died when I was blowing out the sprinklers this week, so I'll be in search of a new compressor for my shop. Small one. I do a lot of me pumping because it's good, a little exercise, a little floor pump, and they seem to hold up for a long time too. Oh, the Bosch has a consistent pressure readout. That's good to know. I'm not sure if he tested one of those, but he's tested several. Since he's in Australia, he has. I think their market's more intrigued with different brands that we're used to seeing here in the States. So it's kind of interesting to see the stuff that he brings to light as well, including wax chains and other lubes out there, that kind of thing. So that's a interesting little bit for sure. But yeah, so for like bike shops, back to the bike shop realm on Fridays, especially Black Friday, we kind of walk in and the service people are just hanging out in the back, seeing if anybody's going to buy any bikes to be prepped and ready to go out. Salespeople are just kind of hoping that they brought enough donuts and coffee or cocoa to intrigue people to come into the store. Uh, and sometimes some stores only do half days. I think I worked at one shop once that they do a 4 hour like power sale, and they have discounts on every hour. The whole gimmick thing that most retailers try to do to get anybody in the store this time of year. That seemed to work pretty well. And then then you can leave and spend the rest of the day with your family and that kind of thing, or go for a bike ride. Um, and then you go back into the week. Then you're basically it's like a super long weekend and really kind of pieced. And people, shopping trends are just not there. You're not going to get a huge influx. You may get some sales traffic on Saturday for Small Business Saturday here in the States. So that's something to look forward to going into tomorrow. Shop small. So that's if you're thinking in that mindset of supporting local businesses and that kind of thing, and see where their turnaround is for repairs and what they have being on sale. But you won't really see a lot of consumable bike parts on sale at shops. So here's the difference between buying online versus the bike shop ecosystem. And they're going to hate me for saying this, but you won't see their chains, their tubes, their tires. Well, maybe some of their tires, bar tape, and that usually does not go on sale, especially if it's specific parts like derailleurs and what have you. Maybe some wheel sets, but they're going to be the expensive wheel sets. But when you look online, places like Jensen's USA and various others, even on Amazon, you'll see like those chains, cassettes will be cheaper, will be discounted, or possibly. And a Google search will definitely find that for you, and with free freight, that kind of deal. So that's where you can really, if you're worried about your economics, that's how you can get money for those smaller, those consumable parts Tires, unfortunately, have gone up, especially Continentals. I don't think they're going to go down. I talked about this last week with Mr. Bradley, which was in the industry for a long time. Check out our Shop Talk Tuesday last week. He reminded me, and our conversation led to, is like when prices inflate like this, even though they go on sale, but the MSRP inflates up, good chance that they're not going to go back down like eggs and milk. Or gas. It's just going to go up, and that's the new MSRP. And that's the sad part, because once you have a big bubble like this, it pushes everything up. And even though the cost of the manufacturing might get cheaper to get into the United States or whatever the case may be, that's not going to go down. That is actually not going to be the savings for the bicycle retailer. This is the stingy part of it. The cost to the bike shop goes up too, which they have to reflect the price. So the margin is 30 to 40%, or points as they call it. It used to be Keystone, which you buy a tube for $1 and able to sell it for $2. Well, in the tubes you usually try to get more because you can get more money out of them. But that was the Keystone. Now, over the last 5 to 10 years, they've been eroding the MSRP. Well, the thing is those big companies, T and S and G, I should make another company called TS and G. Anyway, they will recover the losses from their profits in the future because the baseline price has gone up and they're not going to go down. And the only way to get that down as a big shop is if you buy more from them to get better dealer pricing. So it's a bad game, and it's never good for the independent bike shop. So they always get burned from their distributors and wholesalers. And then when the prices do level out and it makes it cheaper for them to produce those products again, they don't drop the prices on the wholesalers or for the independent bike shops. So they're stuck with that inflated price, which is also the consumer stuck with the inflated price. And then on top of that, they have direct consumer portals for most of them where they're undercutting the erosion in the sales there. So it's a freaking hot mess for the independent bike shop. So what are they going to be doing going forward is basically scaling down inventory on the floor, selling what they know, carry what they know they're going to sell, and people are going to buy on impulse or a need and consumables, and basically rely on service and services, and hopefully they can find another piece of retail inventory that will help drive sales and business. E-bikes is still there-ish, but that's starting to flatline a little bit, whatever the next big thing. So I think we're going to be seeing another very mass bicycle industry plateau for independent bike shops. It's not going to really have any major gains. It's going to be kind of stagnant, like we were, like I would say the early 2000s, right before gravel and e-bikes kicked in. It's been stagnant for a long time. There's no Lance Armstrong effect going on right now, and those perspectives. So, yeah, the bike shops are crying. They're hurting. They're feeling the pain from the wholesalers that they're buying all their product from, and then they're trying to put on a good face and support their community. But the goodness for a lot of independent bike shops is service is really helping them get through all of this. So hopefully you'll see a lot more attention to detail of service for bike repairs and so forth. A little better quality of customer service in general, and more community outreach and support and all that, and basically make the stigma of the high-end elite shops kind of change their tunes to more of the everybody shop. Feel warm and comfy, and those particular shops. You can tell when you walk in which ones you walk in and you feel like, oh, we just walked into a super fancy showroom floor versus, oh, this is, got a couch, hang out, have some coffee, talk about bike stuff, be excited about the new things in the cycling industry, or routes or rides or clubs or events, those kinds of environments. I think you're going to see a little bit more of that trend for sure. But I want to leave with the secret of the back end of. I mean, I was the inventory manager at several bike shops over the years, as well as worked at the Big Five sporting goods. And even though I didn't see all the costs at Big Five sporting goods, I knew through various experiences what a lot of costs are. So if you look at it, okay, you're looking at Black Friday, you're looking at Cyber Monday. Here's your gold nuggets for this week or going through the holidays. So when you're looking at 10, 20% off, that's basically a general percentage off. That's not a really big deal. I mean, it'll help, especially on bigger ticket items, but that's not a really big deal. That's kind of like the general percentage offs that you're going to see, except for Park Tool. We've already established that. But looking at everything else, those are at about a 40% markup. And if you're seeing a lower or a higher percentage discount on that, that's definitely a good deal because they're just blowing it out. Like they're rotating it to get the money out of that. So that 30 to 40% off of those particular items is definitely that red line price that they can't really go any under, or they're actually losing money on the product. And that's what I'm talking about. Not necessarily independent bike dealers, buy their stuff. But if you're doing, online shopping and you see T or S, direct to consumer, this is the numbers you're looking at. Because I'm going to go on that layer here in a second. So when you're looking at the other percentages, let's say tubes and tires and parts, those are usually sometimes a little more margin, sometimes back up to 50% on that. So when you see a discount higher that, that's a pretty good price. So the other stinker is trainers and car racks, the bigger, heavy, expensive products out there. Those are probably 30 to 35% markup on those. So when you see a little bit higher percentage on that, that's actually a really good deal. They're blowing those out. And lastly, but not least, is, did my audio go out again? Okay, sorry. Rambling here and spacing out. Okay, I have a blue light, so I'm good. All right, it must have been an internet connection. So, I know it was. Somebody rang the doorbell. The woes of living at home and everything's connected to all the devices. So going to bikes, not to pins and needles, bikes. The bikes percent, 25 to 35 is the markup on a lot of bikes for the independent bike shops. So there's not a lot of margin. So if you see a price discounted more than that, they're basically moving that inventory to gain some money for cash flow for their business. So that's the business part of it. And if you're a bike shop, you know these numbers, you know your percentages, you know what you're discounting to try to push things out. So if you're looking for anything deeper than that, but those particular like 50 to 60%, 70% off from a bike shop, it's unless they're going out of business, they're not going to see those percentages. But when you're looking at T or S, corporate, direct to consumer, here's the thing. They make a markup too, selling to independent bike dealers. And then they have a markup that goes to the direct to the consumer. So for them, where a bike shop would be making 30% on that particular item, they're making 60, 65% sometimes, depending on the sheer volume. So keep that in mind. Granted, bikes themselves, whole bikes are more expensive, all those things. But when you're looking at parts and soft goods, there's deeper margins. So let's flip it to the the big chain store that I worked at. They sold massive amounts of shoes. A lot of sporting goods stores, shoes is their biggest category. That's what they sell a lot of. When you're looking somewhere between 80, 70 to 80% off on something that's been discounted, they're still making a profit. I mean, not a lot, but they're still making a profit off of it. Especially when it comes out of closeout clothing. Say that 10 times. There's a huge markup on clothing from the wholesaler. So when you're talking about T or S with their fancy high-end tech, BG component, clothing line and so forth, and shoes, direct to consumer, if they knock that down to like 60% off, they're still making a profit. Most likely than not. So that being said, it's, being in bike shops that bought from all these wholesalers for several decades, it's like, yeah, they need to make money, right? But now, since they're direct to consumer, and even though Trek says they share a little bit of profit to the local shops and what have you, it's not on the bikes, it's just the accessories, apparently. So for the independent bike shops. And I wonder if they share that with the bigger chain like Shields, which is their biggest technically independent bike shop for Treks, selling is Shields, which is basically a sporting goods, high-end sporting goods. If you don't know, if you're outside the United States, it's like a Disneyland of outdoor stuff, but super expensive. Everything is there. But they have a Ferris wheel in the middle of their store. I mean, come on, it's like a playground. It's kind of cool, like a big, huge aquarium, but whatever. You're not going to go in there to look for deals whatsoever, even though they try to seem like it. But there's the secret of margins and what you should be looking for. Is that a really good deal? Is it going to go any lower than that? If you look at those percentages, that's probably what you're going to be looking at. And then again, at the end of the day, number one, do you really need it? And number two, are you feel comfortable spending your money right now on those things or any of those things? Especially if it's a big ticket item of a $2,000, $3,000 bike. I mean, nowadays, that's apparently the going price. But here is a beautiful silver lining. And I know I'm running over a little bit, so you guys get a little bonus couple minutes here because I'm just rambling. Used market in the United States, if you're in the United States, our used market here is plentiful to the point where it's saturated, which is a great time to buy a used bike. Because I'm seeing in my market, maybe not on all markets, but in my market, you're finding full carbon bikes, $300 to $500, lightly used. You're finding titanium bikes under $1,000, some are lightly used. Good steel bikes, $100 to $150 to $200. They're all over the place. Yeah, you may need to put some money into it. You might have to put some, tires, grips, consumables. I said tires twice. Various other things. But at the end of the day, you can have yourself an awesome ride for under $1,000, all tuned up and ready to go, even out of bike shop tune-up and all that, under $1,000. And that blows the doors of anything that's rolling off the new floor. And that's where a lot of the bike industry is going to be suffering going into the next year, because everybody is going to dive into the used market even more so. And you're talking about big shops that never did really much of used bikes, now leveraging it as much as possible, because that's where they can get their margins back up and actually labor rates the pay for their employees to tune up those bikes, so it's a win-win. And then on the top of it, gets the consumers a cheaper option, where they may not be comfortable spending $1,500 to $2,000 on a new bike, but hey, you got a $899 special used one that will do everything that the other ones will. There you go. I mean, so that's my little crystal ball of Black Friday and what the hell we've been dealing with and all that. So yeah, I mean, if you're a bike shop, you best be leveraging the used. And if not already, that's something really to tap into. I'm pretty sure you're there. Also, service is another big coin. And then when we're looking into consumers, used bikes is definitely going to be the way to go for the next season, because technological changes on some of those bikes. I mean, granted, they did just release the new checkout full suspension gravel bike. Yeah, Specialized has their one of their fancy new road bikes. They're bringing stuff out to try to get people energized to buying new bikes again. That's their call. That's their play calls. I mean, it's like, okay, the economy is kind of flatline. We can't get very much products and things are not so great. Let's release the next greatest thing that we had on our list of development. And you're going to see a lot of new stuff come out, but it's all going to be very expensive for the most part, and try to intrigue that, market where they still have money or not worried about disposable. They have higher levels of disposable income, like you see with the shops with GC Performance and so forth on their channel. That's where their market is. But in any case, but for the rest of us, used and reservice and all that is where it's going to be at. In any case, hope you guys have a very relaxful, just chill Black Friday. If it's nice in your neck of woods, please go for a ride. A couple shout outs. Johnny, thank you. Johnny, the bike guy in Salt Lake City, SLC. Thank you for letting me know about my audio for a split second there. I swear it was the doorbell. Not this ding bell, but a doorbell. Hope you have a great and relaxing weekend yourself. Thank you so much for 401 S. Nelson. Appreciate the tip there. Absolutely. Christopher Durham 4367. Thank you for chiming in. Much appreciated. Morton Gantz. Thank you for chiming in as well and watching. Spooky Tuesday 17. Thanks for coming back again. I think I've seen you before in here. And started off with 65 Bugnut. Yes, absolutely. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Happy holidays. I know it's busy for everybody out there, and between family, as we all probably experienced that this week. And we have personally birthdays, school concerts, everything else in between. Then there's Christmas and then New Year's, and before you know it, it's the next year. So hopefully you can find some time to get some riding in there, get out of your head. Hopefully things are going good in your neck of the woods. Quibble. Oh, nice. Pizza? Yes. 445. Thank you for joining in. And Susan, thank you for chiming in up from up north. Hopefully it's warmer in your neck of the woods, or else fat bike season for you. Any case, hope everybody has a great weekend. Thank you for chiming in on this Freak Out Friday. Plenty of content coming up. Got lots of repairs, classic bikes, newer bikes, restoration, consignment sale stuff. That's one tucked in behind me. So what is it, a Focus? Felt. It's a Felt behind me. I'm busy. I got stuff to do. I better roll my sleeves and at least capitalize a little bit of today before I have my second turkey coma nap for my turkey sandwiches. That's if you like turkey. Again, all of you, thanks for hanging out. And check out, good luck on Black Fridays if you're going to be buying anything. I'm kind of reserved myself. Shizzle Dizzle 2020? That's a great name. Thanks for chiming in. Awesome. Oh, what do we got? What else do we got? Oh, I forgot to throw this. I'll throw this one in here. And I'll leave you with this note. It's brought to you by Medem Bikes, where you can find bicycles that won't break the bank. Great brands like Univega and Vin Diesel, but give you a good quality, safe ride to be able to do those extended rides and get into cycling. You'll find a link below with added savings. Extend that adventure starting now. Again, thank you for hanging out. Have a wonderful day. One of these days I'll get my kiddo in here to do a stream with me again.